It's 420 Scene here, back at it again with another video. As this video drops, I also dropped the official music video for my new single called Far Too Young. If you're a rocker or you like pop punk or punk rock kind of stuff, click the link in the upper right hand corner over here. I think it's over here. And if you like the channel, be sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell. We do music videos, songwriting and pro audio tips, and gear reviews. We usually come out with videos every Friday. Sometimes we'll come out with a short throughout the week though. Today we're going to be answering some of your questions you guys left for me in the community tab, and my apologies ahead of time. I didn't give you guys that much time to post your questions. I've just kind of been rushing around this week. I'll do better next time, alright? Also, if you watch my videos and all you get out of them is commenting about my glasses or my name change, do better. The hide from channel button literally takes a second and then that's the end of that. Just saying. Having said that, let's get right to your questions. Question number one, Oh No It's Dead asked, how do you build the following as a Canna influencer with such heavy regulations are happening across social media and federal law changes? Being a Canna influencer in 2026, it's tricky because you need to understand what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do on camera. Plus, you can't really show your ladies because even if you meet the threshold of 4,000 watch hours in a 12-month cycle and you get your 1,000 subscribers, that's like the mandated requirements to get monetized in case anybody, or monetized and being entered into the partnership program in case anybody didn't know that. You still have to get accepted to the partnership program, and to this day I have no idea how I initially got accepted to the partnership program. I remember I did get rejected 2 times before I finally got into the partnership program, and I just bumped my microphone. Back in 2018, I mean, it was really easy because you could just have a Patreon account and then you could show your plants on there and then use the YouTube platform to get your ad revenue, but now you can't show any of that on Patreon, so it just makes things a lot tougher in 2026. And I know there's Canna creators that still have Patreon, but everyone is eventually going to get popped for it. So if you're really considering being a Canna influencer, this is what you got to do, right? Create a Grow Diaries page and then use the YouTube platform to talk about the process of it. But you can't say stuff like weed or bud or ganja. You can't use the Canna, the full Canna word in a tag. It's just gonna blacklist you. I mean, there's just so much dancing involved, and honestly, it's a little bit too much trouble than it's worth in 2026. The reason I'm still making videos on here with the Canna stuff is because I got on the train being a Canna influencer when it was still super lucrative, and honestly, that's just me keeping it real. Question number 2, Clyde asked, how did you go from playing instruments to recording? When I was with my old band with Dan and Jay, I know you guys probably heard me mention Dan and Jay before. I was about 15 years old and these dudes were like 18, 21 years old, and we would play together, but Dan was always into recording and those guys were always like talking about analog equipment and microphone placement and just stuff I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about at the time, but I thought it was really interesting, and that's how I slowly got into pro audio. Most of my teenage years, I mean, I was just surrounded by, outboard equipment, compressors, de-essers, EQs, amps, guitars, microphones, anything that you could think of recording wise. At the time, even today, I thought it was the most interesting in the world, and my dad was already recording music with analog equipment since I was a little kid, so I was always around music, and I truly think it was inevitable for me to get into recording and audio engineering and all that stuff. I was just, all my life I was just around it. Question number 3, Crispy asked, for the past 3 runs I've been having spider mite issues in flower. I do neem oil and some other insecticide, and I've also tried to friendly guys, but nothing seems to work. I've swapped out grow bags, grow tent, disinfect everything. Everyone seems like I get the same issue. Any advice? Crispy, if you did use everything that you mentioned and it still doesn't work, I would check out Insect Guard. You take the hook part and then you hook it on the front of an oscillating fan, and any kind of bugs in that room are going to be dead within a few hours. So say 12 hours just to make sure that you maximize its effectiveness. Something else I would recommend is making sure that the entire room isn't damp or have some kind of spills or leaks, like in a basement, all that stuff, because the spider mites are attracted to the moisture. See, let me tell you a story real quick. My mom used to grow a long time ago, like back in her basement, and she would get nothing but spider mites, and it would only happen in the basement. So she ended up using the insect guard and then throwing a dehumidifier in the basement, and that would clear everything up and there were no more bug issues. So here's the thing, you can have a dehumidifier in your room, but in your tent you can up the humidity in there. So when you have the humidity up in the entire room, like in the basement, it's a lot easier for them to get into your tent. So be sure to control your environment outside of your tent first, and of course get the insect guard. One other thing is that if you are using the insect guard, you can't use it in a room where you're either sleeping or you're just staying in it. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. It's not going to affect your flowers or anything like that, but you just don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Question number 4. This is the very first time since the 420 scene started that my wife actually had a question. So question number 4, Mrs. Scene asked, what is your favorite part of writing music if you could only choose one answer? That's actually a really good question. I would say when I'm brainstorming through the composition process, because you're pretty much starting at a blank canvas and it's the most creative part of the songwriting process. Now, if I were to narrow that down even more, it would be when it's time to write the bass lines. I've been a born bass player, you know? I love fast walking bass lines. Matt Freeman's my favorite bass player of all time. If you haven't listened to like the Operation Ivy album, the Rancid, Out Come the Wolves, Rancid 2000, definitely check that out. Don't get me wrong, I love mixing, I love EQing, compressing, the pro audio end of it, but songwriting is what I love the best. I always felt that people that like AI, because AI is a bit, I don't know why AI is such a big thing nowadays, but I've always felt that people that like AI are only in it for the final product or the final outcome, not really being interested in the creative process. But without the creative process, where's the fun in making music? That's how I look at it, and nobody could tell me any different. If you are a musician and you're doing AI, I just don't consider that to be a musician. If I offended anybody, it is what it is. But like I said, the creative process, if you don't have that, you're missing the whole point of it. Question number 5, Sith Gardens asks, what is your favorite activity to enjoy after getting your smoke on? I know the expected answer is something along the lines of me either playing guitar or making music, but it's really not, okay? I can't get baked and worked on music. I just can't do it. I would say gaming with my wife. Now, if I'm just a little bit faded, I'll throw on some Dead by Daylight, because being super baked and playing DBD just does not sound like a good time to me. You know, being stoned increases your heart rate and running from your life from somebody chasing you, trying to off you along with the heartbeat in the game. It's just way too intense for me. Now, if I am super baked, like stony baloney, 11 out of 10, Minecraft for the win. Or listen, if it's dinner time, right? I'll throw on The Sopranos and have some Chinese food or something. It's the jacket. All right, I'm from Jersey, but I can't get Richie's accent down. Question number 6, Stop Afghans asked, I don't know if I pronounced that the right way, but anyway, what medicinal effects do you align with certain strains from your experience? Any noteworthy outliers that were very unique or strong, effects-wise? In my experience, I found that indica heavy strains are excellent for PTSD, depression, and nerve pain. Like, indicas affect the body a little bit more than the mind, so a lot of physical ailments associated with the nervous system helps mitigate that a lot, in my opinion. I've always felt that there's more medicinal benefits with indicas than sativas in that respect. Now, I've always associated sativas with work and productivity. Like, if I'm working on a mix and I intake some sativa heavy strains, it helps me separate the instruments in a way where I can hear everything, but still separate what I'm hearing. It's just more attention to detail. Now, the sativa strains, they just unlock certain creative and mental blocks. It puts your mind in overdrive. That's all the questions that we have for today. I do want to let you guys know that because I'm splitting my time with my music channel, I won't be uploading on here as much as I used to, but we're still going to be uploading on here. I'm not like leaving the channel or anything like that, but there will be times where I don't upload for maybe a week, sometimes even 2 weeks. And if I'm not, I'm probably going to be on Eric's tracks. Having said that, be sure to drop that like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you on the next one. I'll see you later.